Hey everybody, and welcome to Northern Lion probably plays like an hour, maybe even a little bit more than that, of Shadowrun Hong Kong. Why is this not called the Let's Look At? Normally something like this would be called the Let's Look At. It's a game that just came out, you're playing it, you're going to be giving your thoughts on it. That is because I have a lot of respect for you as a viewer, and I want you to know that this is sponsored content. Right off the cut, I'm not trying to hide anything. A marketing firm working with the developers of Shadowrun Hong Kong approached me and said, hey, would you be interested in being sponsored to play Shadowrun Hong Kong? And I was like, well, as long as I can give my honest opinion, that's fine by me. And they said, you know what? That's super cool. And I was like, oh, really? That's like the first time anyone has ever really agreed to that. So this is sponsored content, but it is legally written into the contract. I can say whatever I want. That being said, of course, me being compensated directly by the people responsible for marketing the game may bias my opinion in one direction or the other in subtle ways that are not immediately known to me. So I want you to know that right off the cut. That's why I'm labeling the video differently. Now that that's done, you can go to reddit.com/r/northernlion, and there's a pinned thread there where you can talk about sponsored content in the future, how you like it, whether you like it. If you don't like it, I want to hear your thoughts. Let's get that out of the way, because I want to talk about Shadowrun Hong Kong. This is a game that I probably would not have played were it not for the sponsorship, and honestly, I'm really glad that it actually came through for me, because I spent 10 hours with it this week, and part of that is like do my due diligence, want to make sure I get this one right, you know? Want to make sure I'm not just being a paid shill for the game. Oh no, the music track has ended. This is awkward. There, it's coming back. But also I found myself being like, I don't think I'm ready, another 2 hours. I don't think I'm ready, another 2 hours, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a CRPG, so like a classic RPG set in cyberpunky near future in the year like 2050, and as you might expect, it's set in Hong Kong. It's by Harebrained Schemes. They also did Shadowrun Returns, which I didn't play, and Shadowrun Dragonfall, which I hear is incredible. And honestly, I'm thinking that I'm going to probably mainline the rest of Hong Kong this weekend, and then go back and maybe play Dragonfall, because I've heard that Dragonfall is fantastic as well. But anyway, we're going to start. I think we'll start a new game, and we'll show off some of the very early stuff so that we don't spoil anything. There may be spoilers in this episode, and if so, I'm not intending on it, but we'll also go back and maybe play one of these earlier saves to do a run that happens after we get some skills unlocked, because like most CRPGs, when you get started, you start with like a little bit low skill, and then as time goes on, you gain more skills and things become cooler. What I really like about it, and you'll see as we get started here, is there's a lot of character customization, and you can play the game the way you want. Like, I beat the first 3 runs pretty much with only getting into like 1 or 2 fights. The rest I talked my way out of by having a character that was spec'd for high charisma. But we'll get to that when we get in. There's also more stories available, because there is a level editor actually in the game. But I am not, like, if I can't make a level in volume, there's no freaking way I'm making a campaign in Shadowrun. But anyway, let's start up a new game here, and we'll do the main campaign. And we'll play on normal difficulty, which has been fine for me. Admittedly, I haven't really spent that much time with CRPGs. I've spent like 7 or 8 hours with Pillars of Eternity, but never really wrapped my head around it. This is a little bit more like, you know, the Fallout skill system. I know Fallout originally was like a CRPG, mixed with XCOM-style combat. So it's pretty easy for me to wrap my head around. And we will have an opening cutscene here. Oh no, we got to go through the character creation first. So you can make your character male or female, and there's a variety of different races you can have. You can be a human, and then there's several archetypes that you can choose from there. You can be an elf, you can be a dwarf, you can be an orc, and you can be a troll. So trolls are like the physically largest, and they get a bonus to their body stat, which is basically what their toughness is. Orcs get a bonus to body stat. Dwarves get a bonus to willpower. I think willpower is involved in spell casting. Elves get a bonus to charisma, which makes them a little bit better at speaking, and a little bit more intelligent, although intelligence is its own stat as well. So I'm going to play an elf, because I want to go like full charisma build here, and we'll go male elf, because I am a male elf. And then there's a number of different archetypes that we can take as well. Street Samurai is, you have like a code of ethics, but that's bendable, because you make your own choices in the game that influence stuff like that. I basically consider this like a combat class. Mage is a little bit more magic focused. I guess this is like physical damage. Decker, there's a whole like aspect of hacking into the game. You can hack into what's called the Matrix, and I don't know if that predates the Wachowski film with the same name, I'm just saying. By going into the Matrix, you can actually sometimes engage in some cyber combat, and there's a little bit of puzzle solving that happens in the Matrix as well that allows you to sometimes bypass advantages. An example would be like you're in an office building, and some guy's like, hey, you don't have the security credentials to get by here. You can kind of jack into the Matrix if there's a port available near there, hack into a computer, and all of a sudden you have the if you solve the puzzles therein, you get the credentials, basically. You validate your credentials. A shaman allows you to summon spirits. We get some of those with the characters that we have here, like the NPCs that we'll have. A rigger has drones, basically, that they use with them, and there's an NPC that's great for that as well. And a physical adept, which I believe is mostly a... it's like a magically... Well, I'm just going to read it here. It's a magically active character who focuses their magic internally, which I think means they basically, I guess, buff themselves, if that makes sense. And I guess they're kind of like a support class. But we're going to play Street Samurai because that's what I'm familiar with. And then we'll look for a character that kind of fits me. So far, I got to admit there's like a human Street Samurai that is really... Maybe I'll just put it on human Street Samurai for right now? Street Samurai. Yeah, there we are. And you will see, I didn't have to go too far to find one that was like, oh, this is the character that I'm going to be forever here. Oh, this is... Wait a minute. What oh, it's because I'm on the female side, you dummy. There we go. I was like, I'm rolling this guy. This is my main character here. But anyway, okay, so we're looking for Elf Street Samurai. And we'll just try to find the... That's pretty good. That's actually like a more accurate representation of what I look like anyway. And, you know, we can change some stuff here if we want to. But I don't really care because it doesn't reflect in our character portrait, just our character model. So we'll lock that and then continue to our stats. I apologize that we're spending like 10 minutes just getting started here, but this is a big part of the game. If you're not into this kind of character creation, this is not a game for you. If you're not into reading a lot of dialogue, there's no voice acting in the game. There's a ton of reading. If you're not into that, you are gonna hate this game. And you see, I'm not afraid to say it. But if you are into that kind of stuff, you know, this is a game that is a little bit demanding on your patience, is the way that I would describe it. If you're a patient person, you'll have a good time here. If you enjoy playing like Telltale games where you can sit down and just kind of like lose yourself in the story for a couple of hours, I think that predisposes you to liking something like this as well. So, we have 6 core attributes basically here, each with some subtypes within them. So we've got body, which is basically our physical strength. Cyberware affinity allows us to outfit like augmentations on our body. So like, for example, this cyberware affinity number 1 allows us to have the hand razor cyber weapon, which basically is just a melee weapon that is augmented, like inserted into our body. I guess it's like a cybernetic enhancement, basically. Quickness is how much we can move in a given turn, and also what our attack is going to be like. So, you know, you can see that you can spec your character in a variety of different ways here. Dodge obviously increases your dodge ability. Again, the combat is turn-based, like XCOM. Ranged combat improves basically your odds to hit, and gives you more weapon slots for ranged weapons. And then you can spec into individual weapons, pistols, SMGs, shotguns, or rifles. You can also do a melee weapon or a throwing weapon focused build. I would not even know how to start with a throwing weapon focused build. We're not going to do that, but you can do it. You can even go unarmed if you want to and get some extra skills. Intelligence opens up stuff like drone control, which is important if you're going to be a rigger, and or if you're going to be a decker, because this is stuff that you'll need to jack into the Matrix, basically, and succeed there. Willpower, again, spellcasting, I'm not going to worry about that too much. And charisma is where I want to dedicate most of my points. It's a very intuitive kind of upgrade system. Every upgrade costs the level that you're getting. So level 4 charisma costs us 4 points. Also, every 2 points of charisma gives you the ability to choose an etiquette. An etiquette is basically a dialect that works for certain NPCs in the game to help you get special advantages, bypass combat. For example, if we take like gang etiquette. If we encounter a gang member who's like, oi, you know, give me your money, we can be like, you really want to get splattered out here on the pavement? That'll be a dialogue option open to us because we have that etiquette, and they'll be like, oh, on second thought, you know, I'm just going to go away. So I really like playing the game like that, playing a little bit like a charismatic character. So I'm going to play a very high charisma character, and we'll take an etiquette there with charisma. And I think we may even go up to charisma 6, which allows us to take another etiquette, and we'll take security etiquette. This is really useful because if you're going into buildings that have security guards, you can be like, you know, hey, I was just calculating the tech differential on floor 6. Can you let me back up? And they're like, oh, sure. I mean, maybe it's a little bit immersion breaking, but it is a video game. So we'll take security here. And we only have 11 points left. I think, you know, we could put those into body to make ourselves a little bit stronger, but I think I'm going to go for quickness, and we'll upgrade our dodge a little bit right off the cut, and we'll upgrade our ranged combat. Even though I think on the first mission we have to use melee. And you know what? We'll upgrade our... Let's go for a pistol character for now. And that'll be our character, basically. We get one more etiquette to choose right from the start as well, and I'm going to take Shadowrunner, because we'll unlock... Or we'll talk to Shadowrunners soon. So I'm going to be Northern Lion. That doesn't sound that good. Actually, that's Northern Lion is a great street name. We'll be Demariquai. No, Daiquiri. Is Daiquiri spelled like? There we go. First name Daiquiri, last name Margarita. We're gonna be Daiquiri Margarita, but you can just call me Northern Lion if you're a fan. And then we actually get to start the game. There's gonna be a cutscene here at the cut right off the bat, so I'm gonna shut up and let you listen to it.
You have one new message.
Hi. It's Raymond. I hope I have the right number. Look, I know we haven't spoken in a while, but I need your help. Remember the day I took you and Duncan off the streets? I told you that the past is just a story, that if you can just accept that, your past loses all power over you. Yeah. I was wrong. I'm on my way to Hong Kong now, to finish something I should have faced a long time ago. And I need you with me. I know we're not blood, and we didn't leave things in a good place, but you and Duncan are the only real family I have. Please, if our past means anything to you, meet me in Hong Kong right away. I'll explain more when you get here. I'm begging you. I'm almost out of time.
So this is this sets the stage for basically what's happening. That is our foster father, Raymond Black. He took us off the streets in you know, a near future version of Seattle when we were just, I don't know if we were vagabonds or homeless or orphaned or something like that. And he trained us, basically. He trained us in how to be adults, how to be good people, but also how to survive. And now we and our adopted brother, I guess we're both adopted, but we and our brother, let's just put it that way, are coming back to Hong Kong to basically unravel why he wants us here, how to find him, and as you might expect from that opening cutscene, not everything is necessarily as it seems. And I'm going to warn you right off the bat here. First off, big warning, if you want to play the game for yourself, there might be spoilers at some point over the course of this. Honestly, I'm not fully aware if they're going to be spoilers for you because I don't know how much is drawn from previous Shadowrun lore and stuff like that, and I don't want to accidentally be like, oh, and then there's a, you know, a drone that comes by and it's Jesus Christ incarnate or something like that. I have no idea. That's a hypothetical spoiler. Second warning, so consider yourself warned on the spoiler front. Second warning, I'm going to be speaking a lot. There is a ton of reading, but I'll set the stage here. Raymond Black, the old man gave you a home once, took you and Duncan off the gang-ridden streets of the Barrens, sheltered, educated, slapped sense into you both until you resembled productive members of society. And then you took off, left it all behind, landed behind bars for a time, tried to start a new life after all that. It's been 8 years since you've heard Raymond's voice, until out of the blue, you got this cryptic message, a plea for help. Meet me in Hong Kong right away. And, wire to your account, enough Nguyen, hope that's how that's pronounced because we're going to be saying it a lot, to pay for the flight and then some. The descent is rough. A squall comes out of nowhere, sending a solid sheet of rain punching into the suborbital transport. With a ragged shudder, the plane finally skids to a halt at the edge of Cheklapkok tarmac. An hour and an interminable number of emotionless security checkpoints later, you hail a water taxi to Victoria Harbor. Hong Kong looms ahead, pulsing with energy. And that sets the stage for us here. We have landed in Hong Kong. The whole game takes place in various parts of Hong Kong so far. This is our interface. This is what the game looks like for the most part. The Matrix looks a little bit different. It's almost got a little bit more of a volume vibe to it, weirdly enough. But this is what the game looks like. It looks a little bit, you know, less XCOM Enemy Unknown, more Xenonauts. You know, it looks like a game that could have come out in the early 2000s for sure. Not necessarily a knock against it, but it is, like, from an asset standpoint, not the best looking game I've ever played. But it looks faithful to the stuff that it's, I don't even want to say aping. It looks faithful to its genre counterparts, basically, its contemporaries. You step from the churning water taxi, the churning of the water taxi, to the ponderous rocking of the docks, your stomach lurching at the transition. As soon as you're clear, the captain nods once and steers the small craft back into the harbor. The man never said a word, just handed you a worn brown duffel bag when you stepped on board, filled with gear, some stiff new body armor, and a note, better safe than sorry. Above, smog-thick clouds hang low in the sky, reflecting the lights of the city in a nauseating swirl. The wind changes direction more than once, creating a heady stew of aromas: diesel, sea salt, street food, and filth. It's all you can do to keep your in-flight meal where it belongs. 2 figures stand waiting in the dim light of the pier. These are the 2 figures. The first is an orc, lean, with in-your-face muscles and a jaw made to break fists. The second is an elf, one hand resting casually against her hip. Raymond Black is nowhere to be seen. I should point out as well that the dialogue is very, or the writing in general is very noir. It's pulpy. It's the kind of thing where if you don't like it, you would criticize it as being perhaps overly dramatic, melodramatic, or juvenile even. But if you do like it, and I do think it works for the most part, and this is a game that really lives or dies with its writing because you're reading so much, I've found myself engaged in the story and also finding the dialogue, if not necessarily believable, entertaining for sure. I do find myself skipping past prompts from time to time. I'm like, yeah, get to the point. But I think that's, that's within your realm of self-control, if that makes sense. Well, don't you look like shit? This is Duncan Wu, the closest thing you have to a brother. You haven't seen the man in 8 years, still as charming as ever. He grins. Green's not really your color. Daiquiri, that's so good. The character customization. This is why you should always include a name generator or like a customized naming thing. Just adds so much emerging gameplay. Doesn't go with that nice new armor I got you. As you open your mouth to respond, something shifts alarmingly in your stomach, a liquid bubbling sensation. Luckily, we have 3 body, so we can tough it out here. Don't know what you're talking about. Must be the harbor lights messing with you. So basically, we don't have to throw up if we don't want to, so I'm not going to. The game, I want to point this out because when I originally got approached to do this video, I was like, just so you know, I haven't played many CRPGs in my life. Like Fallout New Vegas is a new era for me, basically, of playing stuff. And I've definitely, like, Pillars of Eternity didn't resonate with me. I found it too difficult to get into. Despite this being kind of like the spiritual or like just genuine successor to Shadowrun Returns, which is, the successor to Super Nintendo game that came out 20 years ago, they actually ease you in quite nicely here. And this is a good example of like, oh, okay, this is the consequence, tough it out, and this is the check that we have to pass, and we passed it because it's in yellow and we can click on it. So we'll do that. And it's very, very simple in that. Also, the game, it doesn't really have a formal tutorial, which is nice for me doing it the second time here. Can be a little bit, it can take you aback the first time, but they have, all the stuff that you could possibly want to know, at least for the basics here. Anytime you need to look something up, you can just come into the this help menu here. Is it elegant? No, not necessarily, but it is a resource that you can use for yourself. Must be. Guess you've still got some of your old fortitude, at least. Considering how much surprisingly, get ready for that. I'm going to mispronounce a lot. Synthahol, there we go. Considering how much synthahol we used to put down, I'd be surprised if you couldn't handle a little chop. Anyway, we got to go find Raymond. And then we say, find Raymond? I thought he'd be here. Never showed up. No clue where he might be? No. Wu rubs his head. But I just checked in with the local PD and morgue. If he's dead, his body hasn't turned up yet. That's a good sign, I guess. All right. Let's say there's a lot of, there's a few options that you usually get. One of them is, basic, or several of them are often basic. You worried? What do you want to do now? Those are kind of, reasonable responses. You also have, one trademark smartass answer in every single one if you want to be that guy. You seem kind of tense. You eating enough fiber? If you want to be the donkey to Duncan's Shrek, there you go. I'm going to say, what do you want to do now? I'm not sure. He's an old man, and he's out there alone somewhere. Let's say, okay, Ray's a smart guy. He can take care of himself. He's not the same, Daiquiri. He's more like a pina colada now. Raymond hasn't been himself in a long time. How so? He's been restless, staying in his study, inside his own head a lot, and he barely sleeps anymore. I've been worried about him, but I haven't figured out what to do about it. He looks up at you and shrugs, and I didn't have a brother to turn to. Hell, wasn't too sure you were even alive still until Raymond managed to track down your number. The woman standing beside him breaks in. This is Carter, as you might expect. We should get going, Duncan. Head back to the meeting point in case your dad shows up. Copy that, Sarge. They're wearing Lone Star body armor. Looks like Duncan Wu's gone private police. Again, when I said I'm going to be reading a lot, be ready. This is where it starts. We will get into some action, we'll get into some gameplay, and we'll get into some combat as well over the course of this first mission. And it's going to probably take us another 20 minutes or so to get through that before we even get to the more open-ended stuff. But if you're in, stay in. Copy that, Sarge. Let's say you his partner? Unfortunately, yes, although partner's not the right word for it exactly. I like superior officer better, she grins. I let him carry my coffee for me, write my parking tickets, that sort of thing. The woman taps her chest with an armored finger. Carter. I figured I could use some backup. Didn't know what Ray'd gotten himself into, and I wasn't sure you were going to show up. It's a tossed-off remark, but there's an undercurrent of resentment in it. Let's say, of course I showed up. Yeah, well, I wasn't so sure, you know. Hey, look, I'm glad you're here, Daiquiri. Why don't you send over another one while you're waiting? Seriously, but I'm going to need to get some time to get used to having you around again. Been a while since I heard from you, know what I mean? And, of course we do. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Okay. Let's just find Raymond. He was supposed to meet us in the plaza on the other side of this pier. The sooner we find him, the sooner we can all have a big happy family reunion over dinner. And the sooner I can find a place to get a drink around here. All right. So, this is, I would probably describe what we're about to do here as about 85% of the gameplay in Shadowrun Hong Kong. Basically what we do is we walk around, and this is done in real time. Until we get into combat, we walk around in real time. I'm also going to crank the volume a little bit if they'll let me here. Yeah, that seems a little bit better. I was worried that it would be too loud, but now we're probably good. Now there's just a little bit more undercurrent of this like ambient tension-building music. A nice little sci-fi soundtrack as well. Reminds me a little bit of like, you know, Blade Runner or Escape from New York or something like that. The Thing. You know, John Carpenter when he used to do his own soundtracks. Not that there's anything wrong with not doing that. And basically, it has almost like a hidden object game vibe to it, which I don't mean as an insult. I know a lot of people take that as an insult, but we will find, as we walk around, these magnifying glasses. Basically, a magnifying glass is something that gives us the ability to interact with it, learn something, or pick up an item or a consumable. These diamonds represent our objectives, the orange ones, and those will always advance our story, basically, or our mission. The guard shack at the end of the pier is dark and empty. Duncan gives the gate a push, but it doesn't budge. That was open earlier. Looks pretty solid. We'll say, guess we'll have to find another way to reach the plaza. Guess so. Strange that there's no one here, though, isn't it? Who knows? It's Hong Kong. Not exactly sure how things work around here. Come on, rookie, we can cut through the construction site. I hate it when you call me that. All right, so we're going to get our first combat coming up right here, but I think, yeah, at this security checkpoint, we might be able to get a little bit of a feel for how party mechanics work. So we're not going to see it in this mission, but as we get further into the game, there's basically a crew of 5 or 6 Shadowrunners that we can take with us out whenever we do a mission, and they all have different skills. We have one decker, so they're really useful at hacking stuff, basically. One rigger, which is like a drone specialist, which we can use for drone-specific things, but also the drone is really powerful. It's like having a shiv in XCOM. A shaman. Shaman can be useful for casting spells if there's situations that need that. And it's not just for combat. Sometimes it'll be like, you need to cause... There's one mission that's like, you need to mess stuff up. You need to like set fire to a bunch of stuff. And the game kind of nudges you. It's like, hey, take a spellcaster. You might want to take a spellcaster on this mission, because then it'll be easier for you to mess stuff up because they can just light things on fire themselves. So your party choice actually has a huge impact on how things turn out. But obviously we have a very guided party for this first mission here. The gate is locked, but the nearby control panel appears accessible. Carter pulls it open with a metallic screech that pierces your skull, sending a new wave of pain down your churning stomach. She examines the control panel for a moment, then throws Wu a backward glance. Looks like there's another way off the docks on the other side of this gate. I think that I can bypass the lock. So Carter is more intelligent than we are. So we can either, you know, just say, let's look around, or we can stand aside and let her work. This is another common element, is like, there's more than one way to skin a cat, basically. It takes a lot to make a stew. If we just stand aside and let her work, it's going to be fine, but if we had more intelligence, we could do it ourselves as well. Could have the same outcome, could have different outcomes, but she's fine. This is why you want to have, like, you're not going to be able to spec your character to be a master in everything, so you need to, you know, kind of spec your character however you want, and then take whatever party members you think you're going to need for a mission. So if you know your mission's going to involve a lot of hacking, you should definitely take a decker, and if you know that it's going to involve probably a lot of combat, then you should take maybe a rigger that has a high-powered drone or something like that. Alright, so now we're being introduced to the combat in the game. The group on the dock was fishing a package out of a speedboat when you surprised them. Now the package is at the bottom of the bay and the speedboat is disappearing into the distance. They close on you red-faced and yelling. The light of the harbor glints off their weapons as they approach. The leader shouts something in Cantonese, but it's too fast to make out. You're rusty. It's been years since Raymond's house and the language lesson that wouldn't end. The old man never spoke anything but his native language at home. Wu speaks with authority. His Cantonese is as solid as ever. He never let it drop. You guys doing some late-night fishing? Oh yeah, we're fishing for assholes. Well, you should check your pants, man. You're gonna need to check your pants soon. You're gonna need some better bait. All you're gonna catch with that is trouble. All right, let's say, try out your Cantonese. We're just passing through. Why don't you put the guns away? Their spokesman laughs, looks at his crew. Hey, you talk good Cantonese, baby. Real authentic. Actually, you just told me you're gonna crap a gun. Lone Star, put the guns down. Never seen a badge like that before. Either it's fake or you're some kind of security guard. Either way, this ends the same. And Carter says, I think he's done talking. So we have combat now. I'm going to close this so you don't have to see it. But I'll explain what's going on. Basically, you can think of this a little bit like XCOM. we have a couple of abilities based on our stats. So, we actually started with a pistol. The first time I did this, I guess I didn't level up enough, so I started with just my fists, which was awful, honestly. But we see our enemies here. There's a couple of different things to consider when you're attacking an enemy. The first is your action points. So we have 2 action points, which you can see right up here, the number in the bottom right corner of our portrait. It costs 1 point to move, or 2 points if you're going to dash, basically. There's also cover. We're in, like, medium cover right now. I think it's medium. Yeah, medium cover is like the half shield. Then there's also full cover, which would be like if we could get behind this. No? Something over here. There's got to be some full cover somewhere. Most of this is only half cover. But half cover, it lowers your chances to be hit, but it also may deflect some incoming damage that comes in, so it's very helpful. There's full cover. Full cover is even better. It's very hard to hit someone that's behind full cover unless you flank them. There's also low cover. Like, there's no cover, but then there's low cover. I can't seem to find any low... Oh, there's low cover, that ladder. So it's like a little bit of cover, but not too much. We also have abilities. So we've got some items. We have some grenades that we can use. It costs 2 action points and medkits and stuff like that. But we have abilities. So one of our abilities here has a 3-turn cooldown, but it increases our accuracy by 15% and also ignores some armor. So we'll use that, and then we'll see who we have like a good crit chance against. No, they're all in... this one is in the open, so that means we should have a higher crit chance. We can't see it, though, because I think our intelligence is too low. But anyway, let's try this shot here. They're in the open, so we did crit them. They did double damage, so it did 14. And then with our second turn, we'll just shoot them. We can't do the same attack because it has a cooldown, obviously. Now, Duncan has a rifle, so he has similar abilities, but he has a better one for dealing damage quickly, which is this burst fire one, but it costs 2 AP. So we're just going to do an aimed burst on this guy, and it should kill him. Didn't crit him, but it killed him. Carter is actually a mage, so she has a few different abilities that the other units don't have. She's basically a support character, is the way that I would describe her to start with here, and she has the ability to heal enemies, but also she has some magical spells that can be useful. So let's put her behind medium cover here. And there is Overwatch, by the way, but you have to hit a certain level before you can use Overwatch, like a certain level in probably quickness, if I remember correctly. So we're just going to do our 70% attack on this mage in medium cover here. And we got lucky. All of our attacks landed, but because they were in cover, that one did half damage. So that's okay. Now it's the enemy's turn, and they have a nice little display up here at the top that lets you know, how many enemies are still left to go. So you're never like, oh, what's going on there? They did flank me, but they didn't actually manage to do any like crit damage as a result, which is really good for me. I think here, we're going to move myself over here, which should give us a better attack. Medium cover, but they're wounded. Let's just take one crack at this mage. That's lucky. I'm hitting a lot more than I normally hit. By the way, there is friendly fire on some of these, so you have to be a little careful. Let's try... Is there any crit chance on any of these? Doesn't seem so. Let's try it on the mage here. Yep, we got the mage killed. And then we'll just do a double attack here with a 39% crit chance, but we might even damage 10... Armor piercing 2. Now let's just go for 2 like basic attacks here. That did 10 damage by itself, and it only cost 1 action point, and that did the same. So that's going to end our turn here. By the way, if you're watching this and you're like 28 minutes and we just got into the actual game, you are wrong. This is not the actual game. The actual game is a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of walking around, punctuated by occasional combat. It is not a game like XCOM exclusively. Let's just use our regular attack here. By the way, our unit's stunned because they took an attack that basically siphoned their action points. But what was I going to say? Yeah, like the game is partly the dialogue. It's not just, and not partly, largely the dialogue. It's not just the combat that is the game. So don't get the wrong impression about that. Our other unit is nearly dead because when they got stunned, they stood up and they ignored cover. So, or their cover didn't work anymore. So, unfortunately, they are almost deceased here. 60% to hit. Let's try it. It would have been important if that landed because when units die, when every unit dies from the enemy squad, you heal. You heal in between encounters, at least on normal difficulty. So you don't have to worry about like HP management long term. But we'll heal our wound. Basically, heal wound is situational healing. The last attack that you took is therefore nullified. So we actually got super lucky that our last attack did the brunt of our damage. And there we go. We finished off our first encounter here. By the way, when your party dies, they're not dead forever. They're dead for the rest of that mission, but when you go back to like your hub world, the party comes back. Like anyone that you lost. So there's no permadeath or anything like that. It's not really like that. It's not like XCOM, again, where you have like an unending squad of generic soldiers that you customize and level up, and then they get, you get attached to them that way. These are all, the NPCs that you can use on your missions all have a storyline associated with them, a mission or two that really ties in with that storyline. It's not a particularly long game, you know, at 10 hours or so, a couple hours of that is like dilly-daddling and figuring out how to play, but I feel like I'm definitely starting to get to the rising action towards like maybe the climax of the game, so, you know, it's not like there's 10 hours of story devoted to each character, but each character does have their own storyline, and, you know, they're well characterized. And again, now that we've exited our combat phase, we just enter our kind of walking around phase. There's another item back there I should get. Another gate panel. This one's been vandalized and busted up real good. A real nightmare of a repair job. Wu stares at the fence considering. Loops and whirls of razor wire glitter in the lamplight. Looks edged with monofilament. The corporations here don't screw around. Why don't we say, guess we better find another way through? Think you can get the gate open, Carter? She winks at him. What do you think? It'll take me a few minutes, though. Alright, we'll say she's competent, and in Cantonese we'll say she's competent. I know, she runs the riot squad I'm assigned to. We speak only Cantonese from now on, just like we did when we lived at Raymond's. Those endless drills are about to pay off. Alright, it's coming back, won't be a problem. And we'll just say nothing here. And, aren't you wondering what I've been up to for these last 8 years? Nope. And we have gotten through the gate. There's also a consumable back here that I missed. So let's go pick that up. Toko, an illegal street drug made from the leaked kamikaze formula, adds +1 body, +1 strength, and +1 willpower for 5 rounds. Every time the user is attacked, strength increases. So we'll take that. We could sell it, or we can use it to kind of, like, you know, super buff ourselves if we want to. Now we enter into the second part of the mission here. The light from the nearby vendor stall stabs into your eyes, triggering a throbbing ache in the back of your skull. You stop short, squinting as rough voices drift in on the wind. Tattooed smuggler says, "Where's everyone else?" You know that they're a red shirt, like they're cannon fodder when they don't even have a character portrait. Where's everyone else? Where's the damn shipment? Haven't seen them yet, we just got here. Longway's probably waiting for us, so we can haul it out of the boat for him, that lazy bastard. Let's just hang out here and let him find us. Looks like we're on a stroll through Smuggler's Central. These gangers don't know we're here. We could probably just slip past. Or we could clip them. They're already looking for us. Might be better to take them out now while we've got the element of surprise on our side. So, while unaware hostiles are on screen, press the unholster button to enter turn-based combat mode. This is one thing that I think is maybe I'm missing the intricacy of it, but I have found it to be kind of one of the more annoying parts of the game. There's some stealth elements, especially when you're in the Matrix, that is basically like Pac-Man ghosts. They move around, they have a vision cone, and in real time, you have to move around them. To be honest with you, movement in the game is not the game's strong suit. Like, you just kind of click and create a waypoint on the ground, as you can see that I'm doing right here. That's fine when it just comes to, like, you know, picking up an object or clicking on an objective or something like that. But when it comes to actually moving with finesse, it's not the strongest element of the game. So this kind of, like, pseudo-stealth stuff I don't think works particularly well. But it is also rare, and the cool thing about a game like this is that it's so open-ended that you can choose to play it however you want. We could sneak up on them if we want to, or we could take the brute force approach and just blow them away, or we can do what I'm actually going to do, which is just avoid the encounter altogether, because I'm going to choose to play a little bit more. See, I gain 1 karma for doing that, or maybe just for getting past that checkpoint. Karma is our stat point, basically, that we use to level up. Things are about to get real here. That was basically the end of our tutorial. We're about to get into some real combat here, so we'll pick up 64 Nien, and that is, we can use that to buy weapons and armor upgrades later in the game. Also, on some runs, there will be, like, optional objectives. Runs are basically just like missions, but there will be optional objectives like, hey, there's a, like, secret prototype laser weapon. If you have enough, like, decking skill, you can open the cabinet and steal it, and then it actually becomes part of your arsenal. So, again, it's one of those things where, depending on how you're spec'd, you're gonna find yourself with or without certain objects that you would otherwise get on the mission. We're gonna speak to Husky Troll. So we've accomplished our first major objective here. Crossing the street, you can make out 4 shadowy figures loitering in the plaza ahead. Troll, orc, dwarf, elf, 2 men, 2 women. They're different from the smugglers on the dock. Alert, poised, professional. You can see they've made a token attempt to conceal their weapons. The unspoken message is clear. We're strapped. Mind your manners. Wu stands up tall, takes that amused tone he gets whenever he's standing toe-to-toe with someone bigger, someone who doesn't know they're about to go down. Evening, folks. You got permits for those bazookas? Permits? Give me a minute. Nope, guess not. I must have dropped mine in a dumpster, along with the last idiot who stepped to us. Is that right? Well then, you can almost feel Wu's cop training kick in. It's like watching a drone execute a command routine. We all know what that's like. He reaches for his rifle, brings it up quick, but it's too late. By the time it hits shoulder level, an assortment of nasty-looking ordnance is already trained on his head. Carter backs him up. She whips her arms forward, fists blazing with magical fire. Her eyes sweep the scene, darting from one figure to another. All right, everyone just be cool. Little late for that, isn't it? Now, this is story-based. Like, this is kind of linear. This encounter sets the stage for what's going to happen in the future. So I don't think there's too much that we can do in terms of like conversational telltaling here in order to branch out. Let's hold up our hands, palms out. How about no one do anything stupid? We just want to talk. Oh, I can see that. Your buddies are totally chill. Something we can do for you, officer? Wu's jaw tightens, but his tone stays cool and controlled. I'm looking for an old man. Raymond Black. We were supposed to meet him here. You know him? Mm-hmm. Well, where is he? That's right, easy Duncan. Your friend Raymond never showed. We've been waiting for the better part of an hour. You were going to meet with Raymond? What did he want with you? He needed friends, the heavily armed kind. The old man hired us to take you all on a little excursion. They're an odd assortment. A cybered-up troll, an orc girl with magical fetishes, a dwarf with a cyberdeck slung on her back, and a tall man standing behind them, inscrutable. All with guns trained on Wu. You're Shadowrunners. One of these days I'm going to deliver that line perfectly. This is bullshit. Raymond would never hire Shadowrunners. They're criminals. Mercenary operatives, the troll corrects him. Criminal mercenary operatives, the dwarf cuts in. Her voice is soft but strong. So yeah, you were right. Your buddy was associating with a bunch of hardened criminals. Sorry to burst your bubble, Lone Star. Guess you didn't know the old man as well as you thought, huh? Wu tries to shake it off, but he's struggling to process the information. You can feel the heat coming off of him. The runners sense it too, and they tense up tight. They're keyed on Duncan, and their guns are big. The looks on their faces make it clear. One wrong beat of sweat, and Wu's going down in a red mist cloud. Let's all stay focused. No need for this to get ugly. We need to find Raymond. These are the people who can help us do that. Let's say she's right. Let's focus on Raymond. The old man wanted us to take him into Kowloon Walled City. And you too. You know the Walled City? Slum, right? I've heard of it. It's a shithole, the worst slum in the Eastern Hemisphere. Now, if you're living in Kowloon Walled City, I apologize. It's their words, not mine. I know that it's been torn down or something since the 90s, but anyway. We get it. It's a real bad place. Now, why would a little old man pay you to take him there? Wouldn't say. He mumbled a lot, too. Just kept rambling on and on about how he had to get in. Under ordinary circumstances, I never would have accepted the gig. The Walled City's the last place I want to go. But the old man rolled up a truckload in the end, and you gotta eat, right? If I had a nickel for every time I said that. Let's say, interesting story. Seems like a good time to ramp down the threat of violence, don't you think? And he says, okay, gang, I'll tell you what. We're all gonna put our guns down. And then things go, like, real bad. In case you didn't notice. This is what... this is rare. Like, when I was playing the game myself, the first time, I was like, I'm having a decent time. And then they murdered Carter. Like, they murder one of the starting characters. And I was like, oh shit, this is not like, you know, mom and dad's adventure here. This is a freaking dog-eat-dog world, basically. So our new objective is to take cover here. So I'm gonna get behind full cover. And I'm gonna take Duncan with me too. But yeah, they're not afraid to kill somebody off in the story here. This is a mature game, let's put it that way. The sound of high-caliber rifle shots hang in the air, and the red dots of laser sights sweep the area. Carter, the troll, and the silent elf lie dead in widening pools of blood, their heads broken open like melons dropped from a 4-story building. The orc girl screams from cover, Nightjar! Nightjar, come on, big man, talk to me. Gut shot? No. Oh shit, this isn't good. A voice blares out over the loudspeaker.
This is the police. Lay down your weapons, put your hands behind your head, and come out where we can see you. Duncan Wu, Daiquiri Margarita, $5 at Lone Star tonight. Come out where we can see you. You have 3 seconds.
Duncan crouches behind cover, his gaze locked on Carter's corpse. His voice comes out in a hoarse roar. Stand down, damn it! I'm law enforcement. I am an FBI agent. He's driven deeper into cover by a hail of gunfire. Save your breath, they won't listen. Use your eyes, these bastards aren't here to make arrests. Okay, so we'll say, we need a way out of here now. Everyone pipe down, just give me a minute. Okay, I've got a way out. It's at the end of the street. Everyone come with me. Everyone? We don't need the rent-a-cops, Gobbit. We're the only ones. Their extra firepower is, I got us an exit, but we gotta get past the heat, and we can't shoot our way out of this on our own. If nothing else, they can soak up a few rounds for us. Just stick to cover and keep close. There's a door down the street that leads to a back alley. That's our exit point. You fall behind, you get left behind. All right, so now we have a lot of combat to get out of this, but this is gonna be the end of our first mission, basically, once we get out of here. So we control all 4 units now, which is cool. Let's take a moment to look at our, like the possibilities here. So this is a character that becomes playable for us throughout the runs in the story. Her name is Gobbit, and she's a rat shaman. So she has, she doesn't really have the, oh no, she does. I've never really used these. I've been using her spells, but she can basically force a Force 2 Nature Elemental or a Force 2 Air Elemental fetish, basically summoning a spirit that she can use and manipulate, but it does cost a consumable. But I don't really like those, or I've never really used them, so I'm unfamiliar with them, so let's not make myself look like too much of a fool. But she also has some spellcasting abilities like Poison Fog. So she can cast like Poison Fog here, and basically this does damage to any enemy that moves within it. So it costs 2 AP, which is a little bit cost prohibitive, but we'll try casting it anyway. She missed and summoned it right there, which is really bad for us. And let's take a look at Gobbit's. Or sorry, this is Isabel, sorry. Isabel has a grenade launcher as well as a pistol, customized silver gun. She is an explosives expert, which is good, but also bad, because if you miss with a grenade, it can do a lot of damage to your teammates, or it can do damage to the enemies. But this can be upgraded to do AP damage, you know, be armor breaking and stuff like that. All these characters can be changed throughout the game. She also has proximity mines that she can throw, but it's not a particularly shrewd technique for us to use right now, would be my suggestion. So I'm thinking probably move her behind full cover, and then we'll have her shoot a grenade over here. Oh, wait. I had her move for 2. That's my mistake. All right, well, we'll just use Daiquiri Margarita here to do some damage. And Duncan, we'll make sure that he gets behind cover. Get him behind full cover here, and then we'll try like an aimed burst at this one right here. I did not click it. Missed. Okay. It is a slow game as far as combat goes as well. Like, there's a lot of time when you and your enemies will just be, you know, behind cover, kind of wailing on each other for a long time before you actually resolve anything. You know, but there's a lot of strategy involved as well. So let's take Isabel, or sorry, yeah, this is Isabel here. She's also our Decker, by the way, which is why you can see this access point. If she can get to that, she could hack into it, and we could get into the Matrix, and maybe, and like the literal Matrix in the game, and maybe, I don't know, rewire this motorcycle to explode or something like that. I've never really used it in combat before, so that might be interesting. But we'll try just using the grenades for now. This is what I like about the grenades. If there's none of your teammates around, even if you miss, you're going to do a lot of damage. But as you can see, that was a really easy way to kill that enemy. We're just going to try to finish off this police captain here. And Duncan might be able to do it if we get lucky. Perfect. Gobbit also has some buff spells, basically, like, oh no, maybe they only, did I move her for 2 as well? I'm like losing my mind here. Tell you what, as Isabel, let's do this. What I was getting at is that Gobbit's a little bit of a support character as well. She has the ability to buff her teammates to have haste, so basically they get to move more. They have more quickness. Let's put ourselves here. And I should be able to flank this unit then while still remaining behind cover. And yeah, we got the kill there. So that ended up being a calculated risk, let's say, to do something positive there. So we'll take a quick move up here. To be honest with you, I don't fully know what these dragon lines are. I think they're kind of like subterranean power lines that make us a little bit stronger. But admittedly, I'm not completely sure about that. That's something I haven't really tapped into, quote unquote. Not intentionally, anyway. So basically, we're just moving ourselves a little bit further up here, and this encounter actually does a really good job of introducing you to some enemy types that you're going to encounter in Shadowrun Hong Kong as well. We have a Conjurer. This will summon spirits. This is like a cyberpunk world where obviously there's a lot of dystopian technology and armored drones and stuff like that, robots, but also there's spirits. You know, there's fantasy elements, there's conjuring, there's magic, there's you know, basically fantastical creatures that we're going to end up fighting here. It's a neat kind of aesthetic. I can see why there is, like, I can understand that there is, or how there is a tabletop game associated with this, because it definitely has that vibe. Okay, where is Isabel? Isabel's back here. I'd like to get her behind cover. That's a 2 move there, or like 2 AP move, which sucks, but I'll tell you what, let's take a shot at this Conjurer. 7 damage, that's okay. I figured we'd probably miss that one, probably should have reloaded instead. We'll move behind the half cover here, or the even worse than half cover. It's not a great position to be in, but honestly, on normal difficulty, I found it kind of lenient. Like, you know that I'm not the best XCOM player in the world, and that's obviously like a pretty ridiculous understatement. But I found it pretty easy to succeed. So I don't feel like we're at a huge disadvantage the way I'm doing this right now. You know what? I'll tell you what. Let's increase our target's chance to hit here, and we'll increase our dwarf's chance to hit, because despite being kind of like our hacking character, she is also going to be the character that does the most damage because of her grenade launcher. So if we can actually land a shot there, that'll be good. But yeah, I have had characters die in combat, but I've never failed a mission due to failed combat, which is a surprise to me as someone who's not particularly strong necessarily. All right, we got a 42% chance to hit here. We missed, but we still did some damage because it landed within a decent area of them. And then we'll just reload. And this is me now. I think I should move up to maybe... There's not even light cover here, which sucks. But I'm already behind shitty cover. We might as well get closer. I can't throw the grenade. I could take the drug on this turn if I wanted to, but... You know, too good to use syndrome. I want to save it for later. So I'll tell you what, we'll move Duncan up a little bit. His chances will go somewhat up. And let's see if we can land Poison Fog here. It's a 32% chance. She missed, but she did hit the drone, but the drone is not going to take damage from Poison Fog. The Spirit actually might, now that it's come up. And we've also been debuffed here to slow our movement. I think the Spirit might take damage from Poison Fog. You have to take my word for it. But when Poison Fog lands, it can be devastating. Now, that Spirit is just like, screw you guys. I'm out of here. The Spirit rebelled and killed one of his own units. I have never seen that happen before. I don't know if that's intentional or what, but I'm glad it was captured on video at least. Keep shooting here. You get a lot more shots out of most weapons before you have to reload. It's really just the grenade launcher that takes forever. Or not takes forever, but there's... what is this covered? It doesn't have many shots before you can reload, I should say. So we're in like shit cover, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to be able to kill this dude on this turn. 42%. Don't miss. It missed, but it didn't hit our teammate, so I'm happy with that. Come on, this one's going to hit. It missed, did not hit our teammate, but didn't finish the job either, so that's very unfortunate. Okay, so they got hit with a debuff. And a little bit of acid damage, which is just DOT, and then, like, damage over time. There's more enemies up here, and they're shooting at the Spirit. I don't know why the Spirit is on our side, but it is dead now, for better or for worse. Let's take our last shot here. It missed, which is really unfortunate. Then we'll reload. Duncan, you got a good chance on this one? There we go. We've got more abilities, by the way. Like, right now, you're really just seeing the tip of the iceberg. Duncan, depending on what you spec into, like, characters basically have XCOM style. I know I'm mentioning XCOM a lot, but it's for a good reason. I mean, the games basically share very many similarities, especially in terms of the combat, obviously. But Duncan gets abilities like if an enemy's at minus 25 or 25% of their HP or less, then you can have a 99% chance to hit them with your next attack, which is really good. There's like basically a binary choice. Every time you level up with a character, you can choose to give them, you know, this perk or this perk. I don't know what we got hit by. It's like a grenade shot. Oh, it's a sniper, so we got to get behind cover. Basically, that's the game's way of being like, hey, idiot, get behind cover. Fair enough. We're making progress. I'm terrible at hitting these drones, apparently. There's 6 damage. Usually, they're not very tanky, so let's try like a full auto shot on this one. Uses all of our AP, did 14 damage. That's not bad. And we'll reload. And these drones are in the open, so they should have a higher crit chance. There we go. Got that one killed. And we really should get Shy Dwarf, as she's known right now, behind cover. Missed with that one, but it did still technically hit. And hopefully by now, you understand what I was saying when I said the game's about patience, you know? This is actually, I think, the longest mission I've ever done. I mean, I've done it before, but I think this is the longest mission out of any of the ones that I've done outside of this mission before in the game. The average run tends to be about 15 minutes on the very, very shortest side, like the early ones, to, let's reload here, to maybe 45 minutes if you're doing things, if it's like a multi-step process or something like that. So it's kind of bite-sized, actually. It's fairly easy to just load it up and be like, all right, I'm going to do one run, and then I'll be good to go. We also, by the way, we have like various objectives here. We don't actually have to kill all the units if we don't want to. We can just get to this and escape. If our objective is escape, it's not like you're going to escape, like get to the door, and then they're going to be like, well, actually, you got to kill all enemies, you know? Enemy Within was like that, where it's like, hey, you've accomplished your objective, but you might as well like wipe out all the other aliens while you're here. This, you know, when it says escape, in my experience with it so far, and again, I've played like 10 hours, it means escape. So, you know, we get this unit to the door. If they can touch the door, they're in. But we also don't fail, or we don't finish the mission as soon as one person gets to the door. You know, we have to get everybody to the door. But they all can get there in two moves this turn, I think, so that's extremely good for me. And, except for you. Oh, wait, maybe they're just being lenient on us and allowing us to do this. Alright, so we got through that. That's our first mission in Shadowrun, basically. Now, there is a little bit more dialogue that happens down here, but I think I'm just going to actually, I'm going to exit to the main menu. And we can't save and quit because we're in the middle of, like, some dialogue, but it probably auto-saved when we came down here anyway. So we're going to quit to the main menu. I don't know if we're going to show off a whole mission that happens later because we've already been at this for, like, 50 minutes, and I'm conscious of the fact that when the videos get too long, people are like, I'm not going to buy it. Or I'm not going to buy it, but, like, I'm not going to watch it. Sometimes, I guess, I'm not going to buy it. People will be like, I've already seen 10% of the game. But let's load up, so today's, like, the 21st. This was yesterday afternoon. Kills 135. Kills 35. Trying to think what one would be the best here. This one, okay, I know exactly what we're gonna do here. Let's load this one up. And this mission is actually relatively quickly. So if I can set the stage here, basically, we're about, 6 hours into the game, and we've become Shadowrunners just to make ends meet for now, but we're still unraveling the greater story. If there is a complaint I have about the narrative of the game, it's that, we have this main quest, but the main quest is bookended or surrounded by a lot of missions that are just kind of side quests, which does take away from kind of like the narrative experience somewhat. When you have this story of like, oh, we're trying to find our foster father, I guess. And revelations for that are coming at all times. But, hey, we need to take out this corporation, and then you get paid for it. You're kind of doing odd jobs. It's like, you need to hack into this office building and then steal some data that they have. And you're like, okay, well, I'll do that. But then can we do my foster father stuff? And, anyway, there's not that many main quest missions, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So this is basically our interface here. We'll do restaurant job. From Kindly Chang to NL. That's my character's name here, NL. One of the things I've learned over the years is that even the rich and powerful have annoyances, thorns in their side, if you will. No one is without troubles. The rich just have different ways of solving them. The client for this run has grown tired, in particular, of one thorn in his side, Chung Sing Rooster Low. Low is a red pole for one of the smaller triads here in Hong Kong. The 289s, or the Easy Money Gang, if you prefer. Despite the 289 small stature, Low's illegal activities have managed to damage the client's profits. Mr. Johnson would like you to help him show Low the error of his ways. Low takes an evening away every few months to dine at the Shangri-La restaurant in Aberdeen. If you aren't aware, the Shangri-La is an elite establishment serving primarily corporate clientele from Wu Ching Incorporated. Because of this, it's not unusual for diners to bring bodyguards or assistants with them. In Low's case, he brings a particularly brutish enforcer known as the Talon and undoubtedly feels well protected. You are going to prove how wrong he is in this regard. You are to kidnap Rooster Low. So long as he is alive and in relatively good health, all options are on the table. So he can be hurt, that's fine. While keeping the run quiet would make things easier for Mr. Johnson, no one will shed too many tears over a few dead triad thugs. The client has arranged an exit via boat. So long as you can get Low from the interior to the restaurant's dock, the client will handle everything else. We will take the run and go back here and walk away. All right, so now that we have the run, we'll go and I'll show you kind of like the mission ending or the mission loadout screen. So this is like our hub world. I actually don't know how to pronounce it. It's H-E-O-I. Hoi? Maybe would be how I would pronounce it. There's all sorts of vendors and, establishments that we can go to here where we can buy pharmaceuticals, guns, technology, armor, etc., etc. By accomplishing some side quests, we can add new NPCs. Oh my god, that scared me. We can add new NPCs into our rotation, and the way that we start a mission is basically by boarding this train here. So we're going to board the train and travel to Shangri-La to kidnap Rooster Low. So these are all of our options right here. So remember, we've got Isabel. Gaichu is like a melee-focused ghoul that basically I unlocked earlier. I haven't really used him all that much, but they still level up even if they don't go on the mission. Ractor is a rigger, so he's a drone specialist, so I'd like to take him to show off his gameplay style. And we'll take Duncan, because he's integral to the story. And honestly, there's other mercenaries that we could take, but it'll cost us yen to take them. We meet some of these in our town, like El Duce I've met in our town, and Shorky I've met in our town. But anyway, we'll take Isabel as well, because her grenade launcher is awesome. And we'll confirm this and start the mission. We also, if you look at my character, can I look at... I guess I can't, because I'm like... Obviously, I'm going to take myself here. But the characters that you take change the way that you'll approach the mission. I'm a high charisma character, so I know that I can talk my way through a lot of stuff. But if I was like low charisma, we'd probably want to take a little bit more firepower, or maybe like a high charisma elf or something. I'm not even sure if you can use NPC stats as like dialogue, because I've always had the dialogue stat pumped myself, if that makes sense. But yeah, you know, if you can, usually missions have like a couple of different ways to do them. They're like, well, we'd prefer if you didn't murder anybody, but if you have to murder somebody, that's okay. So you can be like, okay, I'm going to take like a hacker and, you know, someone who's high with charisma, perhaps myself. Then I can talk my way out of most situations. And also, you know, the way you approach the mission, most of the time you can just like brute force it if you want to, or you can take a little bit of extra time, Hitman style, and kind of like work it out, like the puzzle boxy sort of way. I can't take the laser. No, I don't have the ranged combat stat necessary. Cool. We're fine with our loadout here as we get loaded in. Another minor complaint I'd make, the loading times are a little bit long. Sometimes saving can be a little finicky here as well. But this mission is a really good example of what I'm getting at in the game. And I guess we're so far in the future that this guy doesn't care that I have a drone with a saw blade mounted on it. Let's speak to the security guard. Stepping into the interior hallway of the Shangri-La, you're confronted by a massive wall of troll, the restaurant's front door security. He speaks with surprising elocution. Welcome to the Shangri-La. We strive to provide our patrons with an exquisite dining experience. If you have any questions or require special accommodations, don't hesitate to speak with our staff. Let's say, small crowd, where are all your diners? Most of our weekday business is confined to the private rooms upstairs, corporate affairs and such. He looks you up and down and frowns. Please keep in mind that any disturbances will be promptly de-escalated by our security. We reserve the right to bar service to unruly patrons. Thank you and enjoy your meal. I'm going to say... thanks, because I don't want to cause any trouble, and he's just going to let me by. And let's talk to everybody. Basically, I will say that if you do play a conversational style, the game borders on a little bit of, like, just clicking on everything that you find and then being like, my charisma's high enough for this, my charisma's high enough for this. So it almost becomes a little bit too easy. There are a lot of skippable combat encounters and stuff like that, at least based on the way that I've seen it so far. But it's rewarding that you're like, okay, I've invested everything into making my character very charming, and that gets them out of trouble. But, of course, keep in mind that when you do get into non-skippable battles, and there are some, including some against some fairly difficult enemies, you're going to be at a disadvantage because you didn't pump your, like, quickness stat or your body stat higher. Our hostess will see you as soon as she gets back. You're welcome to wait in the lounge. This will only take a second. Absolutely, sir. What is it that you need? I'm looking for someone, a Mr. Lowe. He has a reservation here tonight. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the name. And then we have a charisma check that we can pass. I'll bet a hardworking waitress like yourself is good with faces. You'd certainly remember this man. He travels with a big orc who's got a nasty scar on his cheek. I might know the orc if he's who I'm thinking of. He only comes a couple times a year. I've never served him, but I heard he gets real pushy with the other waiters. Pushy, huh? Why is that? He's allergic to shellfish, I think. We get so many orders, sometimes mistakes are made. Ah, I didn't just say that. I can assure you that our service is second to none. We'll say... I already tried this one before, and I said, tell me where your friend's eating, or where my friend's eating, and I won't mention your indiscretion to a soul, and she was like, bug off. So let's try, come on now, you must have heard where the orc and Mr. Lowe are eating, since you have to make sure allergy-related orders get to the right place. And she says, sir, this is the Shangri-La. We have over 24 private dining rooms in addition to our main dining floor, and I've already said I serve out here. Now, excuse me, I need to place these orders. Enjoy your meal. Okay. But... notice that because of our charisma stat, we now have a new option. We passed that conversational check, and now we get optional poison the Talon's food. To pull the veil back a little bit, the Talon is like this guy's bodyguard. If we poison him, when we inevitably have to fight him later, he gets damage over time because he's eaten some shellfish. But we need to grease the palms a little bit of the chef here to make that happen. So I'll walk back here. And of course, normally you'd discover this stuff, you know, kind of ambiently as you're playing here. So let's talk to Chef Yan Lung. We don't have the etiquette for socialites, so unfortunately we can't just compliment him and butter him up. We're going to have to take a different approach. No guests in the kitchen. Out. All right, sorry to intrude, but I need to speak with the head chef. I'm head chef. I have little time to cook my food and even less for conversation. I'll say, this will only take a minute. And he says, just make it quick. You've got 60 seconds before I have to pull these prawns out of the boiler. I'm looking... here we go. I'm told one of the guests tonight has a shellfish allergy, a less than mild-mannered orc. Sound familiar? That's a polite way to put it. Gave 2 of my cooks broken ribs and a matching set of black eyes last time he stormed my kitchen. Yes, I know that orc got a shellfish allergy. He's overly keen on hounding us about, as though this wasn't the top seafood restaurant in the 6th world. So I'll say, mistakes happen. Sometimes you reach for a mushroom and accidentally grab an oyster. Maybe such an accident happens to our orc friend. Know what I'm saying? And also, we don't have corporate etiquette, sadly. But, he balks at your suggestion. After a moment's recovery, he looks straight at you, nostrils flared. You can't possibly be saying what I think you are. You want me to poison a diner? I'm calling security. And then we'll bribe him a little bit. I just need your hand to slip and add an extra ingredient or 2. You know, he never appreciated our cuisine, our art. I think a special thanks is in order. See yourself out, won't you? So now we bribed him, and he should get poisoned. There's other things we can do. I'm not going to do it, and maybe I'll fight my way out instead, but one thing we can do here is if we talk to this guy, we learn a little bit about a story between 2 different guys here, and if we follow their conversational threads through to the end, they'll create a disturbance for guards so we don't have to deal with restaurant security, which might be a good idea, you know? If we're a weaker character, we want to go through that stuff, not only because it makes your life easier, but because it's extra flavor, you know? Like I said, you get what you put in, basically. If you just want to mainline every mission with combat, you can do that, and that's a totally valid way to play the game. But if you're looking to speed things through because you're already an hour and 52 seconds into a video like I am, we could also just go straight for our objective here and wait for our target. So let's just have a seat and wait. The minutes tick away. Rooster should be here any time now. That's the passage of time. And because we have taken the action to poison the target, this is going to happen. Chef, we have a problem, a big problem. Cut the drama, Cork Mage. We're working here. Not for long. Couple of prawns ended up in the orc's dish. Only thing worse than his allergy is his temper, and he's on his way down here. And there he comes. They were just waiting, like, enter stage right. A howl and several thumps catch the cooking staff's attention. Apprehensive glances are tossed around. Blah, blah, blah. What is wrong with this place? Excuse me, sir, you're holding the kitchen up. If you have any questions, speak to our host up front. I've got a concern, all right. A concern regarding this shithouse you call a restaurant. This is the 3rd time you slopheads have fucked up my order. If I'm regularly forced to choke down your garbage, I expect at the least some substitutions to be followed. No shellfish. Get it right, or next time someone's going to end up a whole lot worse than maimed. Duncan turns to you, eyebrows raised, and you call me short-fused. Maybe now you'll think twice before ragging on me when things heat up. Hey, if the Talon's down here, that means he's left the upstairs room unguarded. Yes, so now, because we've poisoned him, it's also created a distraction. I don't know what happens if you don't poison him. I guess that we'd find out if we had low charisma. This allows us to come up here and get into the Talon's room without having to deal with the... get into the Rooster's room without having to deal with the Talon, which is a surprisingly difficult sentence to say. Another thing that is a little annoying sometimes, as far as I know, there's no like Q or E to rotate the camera. So if you want to click on something, it can be a little finicky if it's like obscured by your player or by another obstacle, particularly annoying when you're trying to get to cover. We haven't really seen it too much in this video, but there's been a couple of times in my play session so far when that has been annoying for me. Okay, who are you? What do you want? If you please come with me, we can make this easy and don't try to argue. You're in a poor position with the Talon missing. How dare you speak to me as if I were a child? Zoo, where is the Talon? Where's the rest of my security? Never you mind, just get this street tramp out of here. Triad Enforcer says, yes, sir. And I'll say, you don't really want to do that. It's my job to scrag thugs like you. You really want to fight me? And he says, not exactly, no. And he runs out the door. At first, I thought I was supposed to chase this guy down. But no, he basically has just been abandoned by his security here. No, wait! Spare my life, I beg you, please. And I'll say, stop that, I'm here to take you alive. Why are we letting this idiot live again? Client's orders. What a waste of time. A bullet in his head and we could march out of here easily. Unless this guy knows another way out, we're not going anywhere with him raving at our side. So I'll say, how about it? Where's the door you used to discreetly make your way in here? And he will. And he'll give us the key as well, because he's intimidated right now. and he'll follow us, because that is the way that it has to work for game mechanics. But because we asked for the key, now we don't have to go down and hopefully deal with too much of the restaurant security. And we can use the service elevator. Please note, this is one of the shorter missions, and I'm also taking an extra effort to finish it as soon as possible. So this is not like the average length. This mission would probably end up being a half-hour long if you were playing it for the first time. So your comm link clicks, a burst of static, then the sound clears to reveal a soft voice. NL, is this your channel? Sure is. Name's Paylon, I'm your getaway driver. We have details to discuss, but let's keep it brief. Time's ticking. Alright, I'm at the loading dock across the bridge from the restaurant's main entrance. Big old schooner can't miss me, but neither will the HKPF, who I've just learned are on their way here in response to a security call. Okay, well, shit, I'm on my way. I may be the driver, but this ain't my rig. Door's locked, and I don't know the code. You may have to break in. Luckily, we did take a decker with us, so that should be easy enough. So now, we'll get into a little bit of combat to end the mission, but the amount of combat should be lower because of the fact that we took out the bodyguard. We'll still have to fight him, but we have some triad thugs here. We learn a little bit here. Basically, they're saying, like, hey, these triad thugs aren't going to save you because, you know, with this guy gone, they'll be able to move up the totem pole. So let's say, easy there, let's not make a scene. We go our way, you go yours. Or sounds like you two are looking to get hurt. Let's say that one. No ink, no suits. You one of them runners? Shit, a runner? Don't let him take off with Rooster. Oh man, that was the wrong dialogue option. Alright, now we'll get to see our newfound characters. Or like our characters after they've been buffed a little bit. So I got basically the same kind of character, except he's a human instead of an elf. And now I've got his SMG stat buffed decently high, so he can use an Uzi. We also have Ractor. Ractor is my main man. He's the rigger. He's the guy that you can use his drone. So we're going to spend 1 action point to activate his drone. And then with his drone, we get 2 active points. And we're just going to walk this bad boy out here. And he's got all sorts of terrible offensive moves that are just going to destroy these enemies. So let's start with this extra chance of a critical shot. And that's not going to work. Okay, let's start with target lock shot. 99% chance to hit. That's 15 damage. Oh, wait. Okay, the other thing is that Ractor also gains abilities that allow him to buff his drone. So if we actually shoot the drone, like we did right there, we can buff it. So I actually gave it an extra action point there, and I'll shoot again, and that actually killed that triad member. I love this character. He is so much fun to play with, and really, really good offensively, even more so than Duncan, I think. But Duncan, we've got a beanbag shot, 59% chance to hit. It missed, unfortunately. Let's try it again. No, we're out of action points. And of course with Isabel, we still have our grenade launcher, but I believe this also has something else going on with it now. That's still a hit there. I think it might have armor stripping or something, or maybe that happens at the next level, I can't remember. We did manage to do a decent amount of damage, even though we missed completely, and then Rooster, we're just gonna say, hey, get back here, buddy, and we'll end our turn. So yeah, you can see there's a variety of different ways that we can handle this. I prefer using characters that have, like, physical damage, explosive damage, stuff like that, mostly because I can conceptualize it a little easier. But if you wanted to be a character that you could roll like magic and drones, for example. And I think that's really cool that you can handle things that way. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to come over here and see if I can flank this unit, even though it costs an action point. Well, it did get the job done, but I was hoping to be able to do a critical hit. So that's our first little bit of combat done here, and this is our exit door. Before you looms a formidable cast iron door. It's locked, your means of escape just behind it. You notice a keypad mounted on the wall, but you have no key code. A quick scan reveals a potential weak spot in the door's hinges. You have a feeling you can get through, but it's going to take a while. We could pry it open, but we don't have the strength. We could use astral perception to divine the key code number, but I don't have spellcasting or conjuring. I've already have Isabel hack the keypad. It takes like 4 turns. Let's have Ractor look at it and see what he's got. Old tech, I can bypass the locking mechanism quickly, or manually, but this isn't a quick fix, so keep the goon squad off of me. So we're going to have more combat coming out here, as you can see from the foot right there. Basically, the Talon bursts out, and he's like, what the heck, man? I'm, like, real sick. I'm speeding up a little bit because I really don't want this video to be, again, 2 hours long. But we are approaching the end of the mission, and I really love that, like, the amount of effort you put in corresponds to what you get out. I know I'm repeating myself over and over, but I think it's cool that because I had a high enough charisma stat, basically this guy gets debuffed. It's like a chain of dominoes that really makes, you know, everything you do in the game feel weighty. And it's not like a collect-a-thon game where I'm like, oh, I gotta collect this stuff, otherwise I get less points. Like, I actually want to scour the levels for this, like, Hitman-esque, you know, mousetrap stuff so that I can make my life easier, but also get, you know, some laughs out of it, basically. That's full cover, so this is a great position for us to be in. I'm going to focus on taking out the Talon first, if possible. Oh, that he was completely blocked there. Okay, let's activate our drone. That's important. And we'll also, again, like this is the camera's kind of obscuring me a little bit here, which I find annoying. But at least when you mouse over, you do get some extra ambient information. Then we're gonna walk. We'll only take one action point, I guess. We'll walk out to like here, and then we'll get 2 attacks as a result. 84%. Do we have a crit chance? Basically none. So we'll do an aim shot for 96%. That's 12 damage, and that's another 12 damage. So that's pretty good. I'm going to put Duncan back here. The reason I don't want him further out is because I'm going to have Isabel taking a shot. So let's do aim shot. That did a decent amount of damage, and then we'll have Isabel. Oh. Again, sometimes I would just kill for a camera rotation option, unless I'm missing it in the menu here. Like this wedge right here is the perfect spot for her, but you know what? I can make do with this. Or maybe I can't because, no, I still can. And that hit perfectly. The Talon is dead. Optional objective, but optional objectives also gain you karma, so it's nice to do them if you can. So I want the Rooster behind full cover, and I want him as far away as possible, because we get extra money for the mission, I believe, if he doesn't get hit. So him being behind full cover is important. You know, he could easily get hit by a grenade or something like that if they choose to shoot at him. Like that, oh my god. The radius on that grenade is so annoying. So he's taking damage, and I've failed that optional objective. But I don't think there's much more I could have done except maybe focus Grenade Lady down first. Yeah, that's my opinion at least. All right, so this person is going to have a much greater chance for us to hit with a crit because they're in the open. And that worked perfectly. Twice in a row. They're not quite dead, but that's okay. Ractor, I'm going to have him... He's only got 1 action point because he's activated the drone. So I'm just going to put him here for now. Duncan. We'll have him do just a regular shot. The crit will get the kill. And then maybe we'll have him do a beanbag shot to hopefully stun the rocket launcher lady. Yeah, there we go. Now that they're stunned, they'll be much easier to kill. Then we'll take a grenade launcher shot at them. 99% chance to hit. With a miss, but the miss still critted 2 enemies, so I'm okay with that. Although it didn't do very much damage. That one did, though, and we inflicted bleed as well. So we got a much higher crit chance with this ability. That did 19 damage, and we'll take another shot randomly. Not quite dead. Can you just, like, get down? Is there, like, a get down option that I can use on you, Rooster? Oh, my God. Well, if he dies, I think we fail the mission. Or at least we don't get paid as much. So I would prefer if that did not happen, but... you know, shit happens, I guess. We should still try to kill... Oh, man, we have to reload. That's so disappointing. I really want to kill Grenade Launcher Lady before she comes back to life. Can we hit our robot? No, we can't hit our robot from here. So let's go for the easy shot here. And we'll take another easy shot there. That unit is at least dead. Maybe we can fix the robot from here? No. Because we don't have line of sight on our robot, we can't do much about it. One more hit. Oh, yes, okay. So we have... just 1 enemy remaining. Just 1 tangerine. So I'm going to reload our grenade launcher and then take another shot at it. Missed and didn't do any damage. That's okay. Rooster, we're just going to end our turn on both of these 2. Oh, there's 2 enemies left. My mistake. So again, as far as I know, I think this fight is unskippable. We'll take a move here. So it's not like you can get through the whole game. Oh my god, nice shot, me. It's not like you can get through the whole game without, there's no reason to aim extra on this shot if we're going to hit for 99% anyway. But it's not like you can get through the whole game without getting into combat. But you can do a pretty good job of avoiding combat in a lot of situations, which I think is a really cool way to approach it. Like, it really feels like... I know this is going to make me look ignorant. At least that hit for some damage. I know this is going to make me look ignorant because it is a CRPG and Fallout is also a CRPG, but it feels a lot like Fallout New Vegas, which is my only frame of reference for those games. But in like an XCOM style combat situation, which is honestly perfectly fine with me right now. We could leave if we want to, but I'm kind of like, you know, let's try to finish this up. Let's try to get the kill. That did no damage. We're just sinking this freaking boat here. That's no good for business. That one at least did some damage. All we really need to do is get them down to like minus 75% HP. We didn't stun them, but it's close. If we get them down to minus 75, or like 75% down, then we will be able to do the special shot that will pretty much just take him out. Later on, I actually have a shotgun on my character. Oh, you missed again! I actually have a shotgun on my character, which makes it like way, way easier to get those kills. You know, you play it almost like an assault in XCOM. Raptor, you're gonna keep there. Duncan, can't do mercy kill yet. I really want to show off that move because it's so cool, but let's have Isabel maybe take a shot. This is where things are bad if Isabel misses. We could have her use her pistol, but where's the fun in that? Take a shot with a grenade launcher and, yeah, hit our drone and myself instead. Fair to say that probably wasn't the right decision. Duncan has another shot. We might as well use it. And at least he hit. At least someone on our team has the ability to do some damage here. And this guy's like, oh, shit. I guess I'll just run into the middle of this bridge. I wouldn't recommend that as far as ideas go here. So let's take this guy right here. Great chance to crit. Oh, and we've actually killed it. So I don't even get to use Duncan's mercy shot ability. That's okay, though. All right. Let's finish the mission. And that's probably going to do it for this quick look. Let's look at EX. I'm not totally sure what I'm going to call it, but that's going to do it for my preview of Shadowrun Hong Kong. In case you've skipped, well, actually, I think we'll just skip by the dialogue here. In case you skipped the early part of the video, I do want to mention again at the back half, just to keep everything on the up and up, this is sponsored content. I have been compensated by the PR firm that is responsible for harebrained schemes, or responsible for Shadowrun Hong Kong at least, for this video. It's basically a pay-for-play deal, but I also was able to negotiate that I can say whatever my honest opinion was. So if you want a laundry list of my problems with the game, there is a lot of dialogue. That's more of like a personal taste thing. The ability, or the inability to rotate the camera is a little bit messed up. I have lost a little bit of progress sometimes due to wonky saves. Like, just, the game is like, the save button is like grayed out, but it doesn't say like, hey, you know, leave this area to save. You know, that kind of like inaccessibility that I think is relatively typical of games of this genre, but at the same time, as someone who's a relative newcomer, it is annoying. Apart from that, I think I could probably make a reasonable complaint maybe about the length. I haven't finished the game yet, but again, after 10 hours or so, I can definitely feel like we're winding up, which usually precedes the wind down. But I may be mistaken, but I also did see some people on the Shadowrun Returns subreddit being like, well, I finished the game in a day. Probably a day of playing a lot, but a day nonetheless. But apart from that, it sounds suspicious, but I'm actually like a really big fan of the game. I mean, that's why I'm telling you that this is sponsored content, because I want you to know that, you know, there could be subtle, you know, emotional manipulation, because I know that I'm being compensated directly for playing the game. I am having more of a fun time playing it. But really, this is a game that is, I feel like, a perfect fit for this kind of content, because I would not have played this. Probably I wouldn't have had the motivation to play this without a deal like this. And I found myself really, really enjoying it, playing it in my downtime. I really enjoyed, you know, playing it off camera to basically do my research for the video. Would I recommend it? Are you into CRPGs? Then my suggestion would be yes. I'm not going to say, you know, you should buy this if you loved Shadowrun Returns, because I haven't played Shadowrun Returns or Dragonfall, which I hear is kind of like the definitive version. But if you're like me and you're looking for a jumping in point for CRPGs, maybe you played Pillars of Eternity but found it a little bit too hardcore for you, this is, I think it marries a lot of the good elements of the genre, like the character customization and, you know, like branching path stuff that you can do. The story is linear, but like the way you handle the mission is different. I really think the mission design is really, really well done. But it's accessible as well, especially if you've played XCOM or other turn-based strategy games before. It's got a lot of elements that are pretty digestible and easy to figure out. Of course, there's custom campaigns and stuff like that. Your mileage will always vary with stuff like that. But honestly, I think this is a pretty good value at $20. And I almost wish that I hated the game, because I think it would be better for my credibility if I could just be like, yeah, they're compensating me for playing this, but I fucking hate it. Look at how much of a champion of the people I am. But fortunately or unfortunately, the game is actually really good, is my opinion. I've been evangelizing it to Rob and Nick, because I think they'd be into stuff like this, and perhaps you will be as well. It's $20 USD on Steam if you are interested. It became available on the 20th of August, so that was probably 2 or 3 days ago by now. But yeah, if you've got the time and the interest, I would definitely recommend this. This is a deep story, really cool mission design, rewarding. It's kind of like an RPG Hitman, if that makes sense. You know, you can set up the dominoes to fall on the mission, and then, you know, there's a lot of satisfaction in watching them fall. And the combat, you know, maybe it's not quite as detail-oriented as something like XCOM. It's not quite as punishing for sure. And I know there's going to be people who are like, well, it doesn't have permadeath, so I'm not going to buy it. Maybe on hard it does. So you have to do your own research on that. But it works, and that's in service to the story. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I like it. And I found myself with a pretty enthusiastic thumbs up for Shadowrun Hong Kong. So again, let me know how you feel about sponsored content and how you feel about the video now that you've watched all 80 freaking minutes of it over at reddit.com/r/northernlion. There's a pinned thread there you can look at, and look forward to reading your feedback. There is a video link link to the Steam store page in the video description below. If you're interested in picking up Shadowrun Hong Kong on Steam, you can pick it up from that link. As always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you next time.